Welcome to RecFest 2025, Nashville, Tennessee. I'm with the Juice Box. This is the podcast. Get involved. We're back here on the podcast live at RecFest 2025. We're at the Juice Box booth with my man Joey Lee. He heads up TA at Panda Restaurant Group.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this before. Like, how many times a week do you actually eat at Panda?
Probably when I started 3 times a week, and then I'm a year and about 8 months in, maybe twice a month. That's it. I mean, it takes a pounding on you. Trust me.
It's so delicious.
Yeah.
General Chow's is great, but I digress for a moment. Yeah. I can ask you, man, what got you into this world of TA?
I think I kind of fell into it. I remember I graduated from college, and basically I was going to go up to Northern California, and the e-commerce business was booming. And then interviewed at a bank and for an HR assistant role, and then basically got that job. And I remember all my college friends were telling me, like, gosh, you graduated from college and you become someone's assistant, dude? But they didn't realize that to get into HR, you need to get a foot in the door. You need experience. So when I was HR assistant, I found out that HR has so many different facets out there, right? So, but recruiting is everything I want to do. Frontline of the company, you're helping people. That's kind of my purpose in life, always helping people. So I gravitated towards that, and it was probably the best move I ever made. And I would never leave TA, man. This is it for me.
It's a fun club to be in because we get pooped on all the time, right, for being recruiters.
Yep.
We're always to blame for it.
Yep.
Like, why didn't someone get the job? Why didn't someone get the interview? But then we learn the other side of it too. We learn that we actually help people. And generally, right, Joe, like, we want to see you succeed. We don't want to reject you.
Oh, absolutely.
So how do you work with your teams on messaging when, unfortunately, sometimes they do have to reject it?
Yeah, I think for them to be transparent and authentic, I think that's the biggest key. One of the key traits I look for in a recruiter is someone who is very transparent and authentic. I think, we just have to be real, and then we got to, have empathy towards our people. It doesn't matter what it is. The truth, sometimes it hurts, but at the end of the day, I'd rather personally decline somebody versus sending an automated email. It's in person.
Take those 30 seconds, and they could feel it for this. So let's just give it one. How many open recs generally are at a time across your team? And what levels? I mean, I assume we're going from corporate to store.
Yeah, so a bulk of our positions are open up in our stores. So those hourly roles, we probably have about 3,000 openings, and then our corporate roles are smallest, probably like 100 corporate roles, but our bread and butter is staffing our Panda Express stores. So that's our moneymaker right there.
And how do you, let me backtrack for a
Yeah.
second. Do your recruiters work on specific areas, or will one recruiter be working on store and corporate at the same time?
No, it's all broken up. So we have our corporate team, which is our in-house support team.
Right.
And then we have our field recruiters that staffs for all their stores.
How do you scale that?
At the end of the day, HR always has a small budget. Guess who pays our bills? It's our operators. So basically, it's going to be our recruiters supports a region or area, but if they would like to have more recruiters, it costs us about $140,000. That's what we bill our operators for a recruiter. So if they want their own recruiter, basically
they can't have it that every camera. So sourcing is different between a store level employee and someone in corporate.
Yep.
There's some trade secrets there. Like, how do we find, where's the best place to find store level employees? Everyone's on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, that's very true. People always ask me, is there innovative ways to recruit? There's no innovative way. I think we just kind of go back to the basics. For us, what's been successful is boots on the ground recruiting. We're actually going to our competitors. We're sitting at our competitors and we're purchasing a lunch.
Don't you like
and we'll just like look at the staff, and then we're like, who would you hire? And you can see their intensity, see if they're able to multitask. And then, we have conversation, we're like, hey, we'll have conversations and we'll give them a BOGO card, buy one, get one free card. And basically, and that's how we recruit people. It's just boots on the ground recruiting.
Let me ask you this. What's your line of questioning when you're hiring recruiters? What are you looking for?
Oh, absolutely. Most recruiters can probably do the job of recruiting. I look for is, what is your story? I always share with the last candidate. I'll share with you. Last candidate I interviewed, I looked at his resume. He actually can do the job. Education, fantastic. I asked him, I was like, hey, tell me, what is your story? Who are you? Outside of your resume, I don't want to hear nothing about recruiting. I don't want to hear nothing about your education. I want to know what your story.
A good recruiter's a good storyteller.
A good storyteller. It tells me about, their I would say their experiences, how they think, if they have the entrepreneur mindset. That's what I look for.
entrepreneurial mindset, and you talk a lot about transforming recruiters into strategic talent advisors.
Yeah.
I love this so much because I think the greatest role that has come about in our world is the HRBP. It's much more on like the corporate side, right? The human resource business partner, because by definition, it's someone who's in tune with the business as a whole and not just the recruiting. But good recruiters should be doing that anyway. How do you do more than just being a recruiter? How do you really integrate yourself into the business to be a true strategist? It's been a long day. How do you be a strategic advisor?
Yeah, that's
Strategy.
yeah. I think first is sharing. I just did like a presentation on transactional recruiter to transformational recruiter, and one of the key traits I look for is going to be, are they in the driver's seat, basically, right? Like most recruiters today, they're using the passenger seat. The back seat, I would worry they're in the trunk, right? But the transformational recruiters are actually driving the conversation. They're being that leader. They are asking the tough questions. That's what I mean. But we have to create space for them. We actually got to show them how to do that.
You said something really interesting there I want to talk about. It's so as a people leader of people, bring runners. How do you create an environment where people feel comfortable pushing their own boundaries to do their job better, and not keeping everyone in their guardrails and job specifics?
Yeah. When I joined Panda, it's very rare they hire external, and basically, I was a shock to them in terms of the way I think, the way I dress, because at Panda they're very conservative, right? But at first, for me, was about integrating into the business and then slowly sharing like, hey, this is my vision. This is my mission for the team. I want you guys to show up as who you are, right? And I remember my first team meeting, their backdrop was all Panda backdrops. And I was like, what the hell, dude? I was like, TA is meant to be fun, man. So I have like the beach background on mine. It took them at least 90 days to change their backdrop. And then they were all like,
when you express your creativity.
yeah. Like you don't have to be all purely about the company. Like you want to show up as your true self.
My preference is blur.
The blur.
The blur is I only use I only use blur when I'm working from home, so you don't see my ironing board and my Peloton, which is also the coat rack. In our room there.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about purpose-driven, people-first candidate experience.
Yeah.
When I read that sounds like a lot of corporate BS here. But
Yep.
what do we really mean by purpose-driven? What have you done to really put the experience first?
I think it's providing the white glove service to people. I think you treat associates, candidates, hiring managers all the same. I think it's like I don't think we do that enough. I think sometimes it's very transactional. I think it's being your authentic self. All those key things. That's what we need to go back to. But purpose driven is that going back to that is that I want to make sure like everyone has a vision. Everyone has a mission. Every candidate I talk to, what's your mission? What's your vision? If you don't have one, then how do you align to my company's vision and values, right? Because when you think about recruiters, they are here to help. Every person that they hire actually affects the company's DNA as well as the culture.
And it's so that you want everyone. And first of all, everyone knows I've been talking about it in nauseam for the last 7 years. I hate the F word, fit. I hate culture fit.
that word's always there though.
But I like add, because how are you adding to the fabric of an organization? The way I like to look at it is a quilt, right? Everyone's a different textile, different fabric, and it all sits together.
Yeah.
Right. So individually they're different, but when we pull out, you have this beautiful quilt, and that's really what it's about. So, Joey, what's exciting you about this space from a technology perspective these days?
Gosh, I always hear the
Juice
box. Yeah, I'm actually meeting with them next week or so. I'm putting that plug in there. I think I love AI, man. And people tell me all the time, and I'm going to kind of push the envelope, is AI going to replace recruiting? The transactional ones, the transactional recruiters, they're going to replace. I guarantee.
Yes.
The person that doesn't evolve or elevate, they're going to replace.
100%.
Yeah, but the transformational recruiters are the one that are, they're elevating. They're putting that human element to it. But I just like about a month ago, I was watching a tech demo, and they actually were creating a digital clone. The face of a recruiter, the actual recruiter, the tone. They were asking the questions, and I was kind of floored away, and I was like scared a little bit. But I was like, hey. And that's a scary aspect. And these cerebral individuals out there, these tech guys are building, and you're asking, and they're building.
They're trying to take over. I mean, I'm seeing that. I'm kind of going on a rant here.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of new products that are coming out there, coming from folks that haven't spent any time in our industry. The smart ones,
yeah,
like these guys here over there, they got real recruiters on board quickly.
Right.
To really say, this is what we do and what's realistic and what's not. Yeah. I personally think that, as you said, the transactional recruiters are going to be outdated and replaced with the technology. So let's do a couple of hot takes here before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Open to work banner on LinkedIn, helpful or harmful?
I'm open to it. I don't think it's harmful at all. I think you're transparent. I think it just provides people opportunity. I know people get that persona of like, hey, you put that on, it shows that vulnerability. It shows like you were probably terminated, but I think you need to blast it out there.
What's harder, sourcing or closing the candidates?
I would say closing. No. Wow, that's a good one.
It's like chicken and egg.
Oh, that's a chicken and egg. That's a good one.
Pretty chicken and egg, right?
Yeah, I would say I think closing. Closing will be a little bit challenging. Sourcing, you have AI. I can guarantee you. It's not like back in the days where you create Boolean search strings. Now I think closing is because people have more options now in terms of how fast can get the offer out. So they have options.
Yeah, absolutely. Internal referrals, pro or con?
What's the
Internal referrals.
What's my take on internal referrals? 60% of our hires comes from internal referrals. We pay out.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Fun fact right there. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Sandwich.
See, we're winning on the points here. What is your favorite menu item at Panda Restaurant?
It would be orange chicken. It would be teriyaki, and then greens. And I pick out the broccoli because I'm just picky like that.
I don't like broccoli.
No, I get only broccoli.
Only broccoli.
Yeah, but I push out the cabbage. The smell. I tell the person in the back, grab me all the broccoli right there. So I'm no high maintenance.
I love it. Joey Lee, head of TA over at Panda Restaurant Group. Where can folks find you? Where can they connect? Where can they learn more?
Just hit me up on LinkedIn. That'll probably be the best place to find me.
Joey Lee, everybody.
Peace out. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. They heard everything we were just talking about.
Uh-oh.
We are back with PozCast alumni Rachel Allen. She's the head of TA at a little company called 7-Eleven.
That's right.
Now, we last spoke last November at PRE in Anaheim, and we had a fantastic conversation with my buddy Evan went out and we had the silver pineapple on.
That's right. Yeah.
You had to put a smile on your face.
That was the best.
Which changed in the last 10 months?
Gosh, it hasn't been that long, but a lot is going on, right? I mean, just in general, a lot of changes, just not 7-Eleven specific, but there's a lot going on. The craze of AI is just over the top right now. And so I think two of the biggest challenges that we're facing because of that really is we're operating in the gray right now. We're waiting. Well, we kind of need some precedents to happen, right? Around what's the direction we can have with AI. We automated a lot of our store level recruitment, which we talked about last time, and we're ready for what's next. Where else can we go? But we need to be cautious of, where are things going to land from a compliance perspective, right? And so we're operating in this world of gray. Yeah, it is a totally new frontier.
So if you don't mind me asking,
yeah,
what's one of the lessons learned in using some of your tools in the early days? What's some of the lessons learned from maybe either pivoting or how to use a tool better, or maybe you shouldn't use it?
I think the biggest lesson is, and what went really well for us, is leading with your challenge, your problem. What are you solving for? Too much today, everybody's, I think I mentioned this last time, going after the shiny object, but we really need to clearly understand what we're solving for. What is the business problem? And I'm really trying to get people to steer away from having a quote AI strategy. I think AI is an enabler of a strategy. I don't think it is a strategy. So what is the business strategy? And is AI a channel in which you can make that happen and it enables that strategy? Yeah. But I don't think you have an AI strategy, if that makes sense. If you do need to have guardrails, guidelines, what's your philosophy? That's totally fine. But to go and try to be like, our AI strategy for this department is XYZ, I think could get some people not in trouble, but just not with the results they were expecting. Yeah.
And how do you use AI to help you in that store level hiring? Right? Because not everybody's on LinkedIn.
Right.
They're not. And you have to go where the candidates are.
Yeah.
So how have you been working with the tools to help amplify your team's ability to find great candidates for those store level?
Yeah. So like I said, we were able to automate 95% of the hiring process at our store level. And there's no way to do that without AI, right? So AI was the solution for us, but that we didn't lead with that. And in fact, a business decision was what came into play first around the way we viewed staffing of our stores. And we believe it is, an opportunity for labor optimization. And so we want to have our leaders with the stores having ownership within that. So decision was made first and foremost.
Bring them into the fold early on.
Correct. Yep. Bring them into the fold. So I want these store leaders to be successful. What do I need to do as a COE to, enable them to do the job well when that's not the center of everything they do? In fact, it's a very small piece of the big picture of what they do. That's where we came into the, identifying a technology that works.
So where do you use it in the process outside of sourcing? Are you using it anywhere in the interview process?
So that is the one place where we keep it purely human. So when I say we automated the 95%, the 5% we did not is the in-person interview. For us, our candidates are our customers. The people that we hire are facing our customers. We need that part to be, that part needs to be in person. What we do automate is getting them in the door for the interview, the scheduling, right? But the actual interview, we need them to come in.
And I see this all the time, right? Like all those pieces of it, and generally speaking, not for 7-Eleven, those parts of the process that can be automated, scheduling. Right? Like having that integrated. And yes, there's tools out there, but using it in the right way.
Right.
And I found also, when we're talking specifically about tech roles, or there's some other roles too, if you're using the AI interview tools for a lot of the initial screening, the ability to have someone interview on their own time schedule, and not just in a 9 to 5 when the hiring manager is available. That makes your team more efficient so they can have more time for you.
It does. So that's a really good point. We're a 24/7 operation, and our candidates apply to us at 3 a.m. Right. And then they fall into this hole and weren't able to be seen, versus using an assistant the way that we do. She engages with them immediately, no matter what time they're applying with us.
Did you build did you work to build an internal tool?
No, we use a vendor. Am I able to talk about whatever vendor we?
Yes, you can mention that.
We use Paradox. And so we created a recruiting assistant through Paradox, and we named her Rita, which is recruiting individuals through automation.
That kind of hard.
Yeah. So Rita is our lovely assistant who helps us with all things recruitment at the stores. And she uses what the availability the store leader puts in and uses that to schedule all the interviews and stuff like that. Yeah.
Interesting. Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about workforce planning. And you say if hiring needs a company like 7-Eleven that could flip overnight. One day it's tech roles, the next day it's hundreds of field positions. How do you stay proactive instead of reactive when it comes to workforce?
It's a really great question, and it's a continuing journey, quite honestly. So we're building up that capability a lot stronger and trying to think bigger around total workforce. And I think what's interesting in today's age is I think we're going to need to start thinking about it just more of the work that needs to get done. And there's multiple ways the work can get done. Sometimes that's an FTE, that's a full-time employee. Sometimes that's a contractor. Maybe it's using and leveraging a global center that you have. But it's also going to start being assistants, AI assistants. So when you think of total workforce, or not workforce, but how is work getting done, that is now a channel that didn't used to be there. And so I think that's going to look different. The strategic planning around all of that is going to look different. And so we're trying to make sure we have a point of view and a place at the table now, so that we are engaging the enterprise as a whole around how do we best get our work done.
And that level, as much as you're open to sharing, what kind of signal data informs the signals that you guys are listening to and for to inform those decisions?
On what to use and what not to use, or how the best channel. It depends. And there's a lot of different ways. I'm not going to share any specific data, right? But yeah, are we looking at the data? Sure. And the insights from it.
Like, is it interview feedback? Is it speed to hire? Is it quality of submissions? What are some of those points you use to refine the process?
It's all of that, right? It's also after the fact too, quality of hire, which takes some time after the person's been in role. So you're looking at turnover, you're looking at retention, you're looking at quality of hire, you're looking at all of that type of stuff to give you some hints.
Let's talk a little bit about internal mobility, and everyone loves to say they support it, right? But actually doing it is another story. What have you learned about creating a real environment inside the organization to truly say, yes, we eat our own dog food, not to say eat that at 7-Eleven, But what I mean is that we practice what we preach.
Sure. So one of the things that we did is we just launched a new HCM in January, and with that a new recruiting ATS. And used to, we would seek permission when an internal applied to a role. We were intentional of removing that permission, right? The approval. Instead, we want our employees to own their career and feel like a place of, psychological safety in which they can apply for what they want. Does that mean they get the job? No.
Right.
We're still going to talk.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And do we care about the manager's feedback? 100%. Right. So we still want to understand, is this the right fit? Is this ready? We're still going to explore all of that. But we took away one of those barriers of permission to apply to a role. Yeah.
That help reduce attrition. Have you seen any
with attrition?
It was just a mere fact that I'm in a company that supports my growth.
Yeah.
There's opportunities for me to move up in the organization, and at the very least, I have the ability to do so.
The problem is it's a strategic initiative to focus on what we are doing to help turnover. So we're doing multiple things. To tell you what one thing has done to what has improved that, I don't know. But I do know our turnover has improved, and that was one of the things. So I'm going to go with, made a difference.
All right, let's shift a little bit. Off the grid, not talking about your association with the company that you work for. We could do a couple of hot takes over here too.
Okay.
Open to work banner on LinkedIn, helpful or harmful?
I think it's helpful.
What's harder, sourcing or closing a candidate?
It depends on what you do with the sourcing and how you handle your conversations from the get-go, and you're closing all the way, then it shouldn't be hard to close. But if you didn't do that all the way, then it's harder to close. So
I've seen recruiting always be closing.
Always be closing from the get-go.
Right? Always. Is there anything, like I always say too, first conversation, you still interested in this role? Is there anything here in this role you want to continue it? And then as you get further along, it's a little bit harder of a close here.
Right.
What's one interview question that you secretly hate asking?
That I secretly hate asking?
Agnostic of your current role,
Right.
in your entire career, what is one question as a recruiter that you hate asking?
Oh, gosh. I could tell you one I love more than I can tell you what I hate.
Asking?
I got this from a friend of mine, and I think it's so great, and it's my favorite question is, tell me what is the greatest misconception people have of you? I like that one.
So, Rachel, what is the greatest misconception people have about you?
Oh, you're going to put that back on me now, are you?
My show.
I think the greatest misconception could be that I can be a bulldog. So I have strong opinions, and maybe the way it comes through and is delivered is not optimal in certain situations. So I have learned how to adjust the way I deliver certain things so that everyone gets a say and a voice in it versus, getting shut down because of an aggressive approach. So
love that. And let's finish with some positivity here. What's putting a smile on your face these days from just how your team is working, how they're delivering, how they're working well together? What's putting that smile on your face? Let's throw some flowers to your team.
Yeah, my team's incredible, and that's what it is. So there's a lot of chaos, and there's a lot of unknown, and there's a lot of gray, and there's been a ton of change. I have thrown so much change at my team, and they keep showing up, and they keep doing it well. We've gone back to the basics, and they're killing it, and there's no way I could do what I do without the team that I have. I think as we move into this space of uncertainty, what's going to set everyone apart is being human. I think that's going to be our superpower, right?
So much tech that we're going to have to go back to being human.
Correct.
Someone's going to lose. One of the bots is going to lose. The humans are going to come back.
And being human is going to be our differentiator. And that's where we're going to really show value in the moments that matter. And my team consistently shows up with the right North Star, which is, putting the candidate at the center of everything. And they do it right. So shout out to my team. Incredible. Yeah. That's putting a smile on my face.
Shout out to the 7-Eleven TAC.
That's right. Yeah.
Shout out to Rachel Allen. Thank you for joining us again on the podcast. Where can folks find you? Where can they connect? Where can they learn more?
Me personally, LinkedIn. Yeah. Find me on LinkedIn.
LB Careers.
Of course. Yeah. Go to 7-Eleven Careers too. Yeah, of course. For opportunities within 7-Eleven. Absolutely. And to learn more about 7-Eleven. Yeah.
Thank Kevin for 7-Eleven. Thank you, Rachel Allen, for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Great. We're back with my man, Brandon Davis from Champions Group. Tell everyone what Champions Group is all about and what do you do there?
So Champions Group, we are one of the leading in the country when it comes to HVAC, plumbing, and electrical services. We offer those services to residential clients across the country. We have about 2,500 employees, operate in 7 states, 19 unique brands, growing at a pretty rapid rate, and we're excited to be here in the skilled trades. So
what is a range of? Are you hiring also internal? You're hiring all internal functions within your organization, right?
Correct. Technicians, customer service,
but also executives, marketing, customer care, the whole spectrum there.
Yeah.
And the recruiters on your team specialize, or are they still doing a broad range across all those?
Broad range across all. So the team is generally set up in divisions. So they're recruiting across multiple divisions. We have 4 divisions in our company. So got a few team members that are recruiting across all roles within their division, whether it's technician all the way up to manager. And then I have one TA specialist who focuses on early career. So we run training classes basically for our training program for folks who are looking to get into HVAC and plumbing.
Oh, interesting.
And we bring them on board. Last year we hired, or this year I'd say, we hired roughly about 300 people into that program, and it's been growing year over year.
So how do you work with recruiters? How do you train them and get them onboarded? It's a very different to recruit someone who is a technician in HVAC who may not be on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
to talking to someone in customer care or marketing or an executive that is on LinkedIn. How do you work with them from a sourcing perspective and a skill set perspective?
So one of the things that I've asked the team to do is really spend time sourcing. I think that's where a lot of our candidates are. So being able to utilize the tools that we have, whether it's Indeed, whether it's LinkedIn. Some of them actually have a LinkedIn, they just don't ever go on it.
Right, to contact.
Yeah, so it's hard to contact.
It's hard to send someone an email or connection request when they're not looking at it.
Exactly.
Right.
So being able to just give them the tools to source, creating different Boolean strings that will actually target specific skill sets within the technician realm that will help them to identify that top talent essentially. We also utilize a lot of trade schools, and we go out to military events, things like that, to try to source new talent into the industry.
What kind of tech are you guys using for sourcing?
So right now we're using Indeed. We also have right now we're using Indeed. We also have so Indeed, LinkedIn. We're using a number of other resources and tools. We're also relying a lot on, again, going back to like the military.
It's a lot of word of mouth marketing.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how do your recruiters, do they feel that the technology out there is helping them, enabling them, or are they scared that it might take some of their jobs away?
I think it's a combination of both, but it's managing those expectations. So giving them the tools that are needed, but also showing them how to use those tools and how to just make their jobs more efficient is how we've been able to get the buy-in. So
that's what it is. Your job more efficient.
Exactly. So
it's here to help you. It's not here to take your job.
Exactly.
Don't worry.
When I introduced ChatGPT and Copilot, they were like, "Oh my God, this is going to take my job." But then once I showed them how to use it, they were like, "Oh, this is going to be great. This is helping with communications. This is helping me craft, again, search strings. This is helping me craft all these different things that I didn't know how to do before."
And it's also in being inquisitive. Also, one of the fun things I was testing and learning with ChatGPT. I have an AI note taker that I use for video and audio calls, and I would take that transcript and I would say this. I would know it's an ideal candidate. As a recruiter, you know who your ideal candidate is, and I would say, based on this interview, based on here's their LinkedIn profile, I want to make an avatar of this candidate. Give me the Boolean search. Give me this too. That's how you use the ChatGPT, and you kind of reverse engineer into it. The other thing I would do is take those notes and have ChatGPT do the summary for me for the hiring managers. Yes, there's tools out there that do that.
Yes.
But I don't want to pay for those tools. So how do I do that as a recruiter? But I'm more curious. Have you always been in recruiting? Has this been your whole life?
No. So it hasn't been my whole life.
Journey a little bit.
It hasn't been my whole life.
No kid grows up. My son isn't like, "Daddy, I want to follow your footsteps and be a recruiter." A podcaster, yes. Both my kids want to do content creation. But no one grows up and says, "I want to be a recruiter." So what brought you into? How did you cross over to the dark side here?
Honestly, it was the people side. So I started my journey 20 something years ago. I was working at a movie theater. I love talking to people. Love just kind of chopping it up with people.
Job, right?
Yeah, I love it. I was there for 7 years. I worked my way through college for that job. Worked at GameStop as an area manager for a while. So I was more on the operations side, and then eventually I realized I think I want to do something a little bit different. Worked in marketing for a couple years, and then my undergrad is actually in accounting. So I realized quickly that's not for me. I'm not sit in front of a spreadsheet numbers person. I need to talk to people. So got an opportunity to be a recruiter, and I was like, this is great. Let's do it. And 3 months in, they made me a manager, and kind of the rest is history. It's been about 16 years now. I went into more general HR for a while, was the head of HR, and then found my way back into TA.
But what is it about? Because there's a certain breed. Like, it's also an industry where we see people come in and come out, and then some people stick around. What keeps you around in this space?
Honestly, it's just the constant changes and the constant challenges. I feel like year to year it changes. I mean, 2 years ago when I came into this company, it was really all about, we're not getting enough candidates. How do we get more candidates? Now it's not
increase the pipeline.
Exactly. Now it's not how do we increase the top of the funnel. Now it's how do we get better quality. So even in 2 years, we've seen a shift.
So how do you define better quality? Is it quality of hire? Is it quality of the candidates coming through? Like, how do you? Because that's like the other hot topic du jour. After we're talking about AI, everyone's talking about quality of hire.
Yeah.
How do you measure that?
I don't love quality of hire, and I actually don't really like to even look at it. When I'm looking at quality, I'm looking at, okay, if I get 500 applications, how many of those can I actually pass through to have an interview with?
That's a great way to look at it.
To have an
quality of sourcing.
Exactly, quality of source.
The hire, if we're using the metric of the hiring manager saying yes or no, this is a good profile, I think that's a very good quality of submission.
Yes.
We should talk more about, generally in this industry, quality of submission, because quality of hire, I'm not going to say it's subjective, and you can really quantify it with salespeople, but like other roles, how do you say that this person's better than us? Do that.
I mean, it's hard.
How long do you stay in the role for?
Yeah, but also, I mean, at what point is it not TA's problem anymore? So quality of hire, I mean, there comes a point,
You said that.
You get 90, you get 120 days in. What did I do to make that person leave, or to make sure that person was successful in the role?
That's the problem I find all the time. It's our job as recruiters to source, to initially screen, but at the end of the day, the hiring manager is making that decision. So why does so much blowback come back to TA if someone gets let go early, they didn't make it? Like, that's the hiring manager made this. It's always been like a point of contention with that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because again, once they get to the door, yes, we can set up a great onboarding plan. We can do all this stuff to make sure that the person is set up on day one, but get to the, when you get down to it, it's the manager that's training him. It's the manager that's putting him through that onboarding process. It's the team, not to put it all on the teams and the managers. Yes, there's some guidance we give, but I'm not going to put that back on the TA team and say, hey, this one's on you, because it's not. We got the right person through the door. From there also needs some accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. Brendan, your tag says head of talent acquisition.
Yes.
I'm assuming here, I'm going to take a wild guess that you manage people.
Yes.
What do you look for those really good traits, the traits and qualities of a good recruiter?
Personality is one, and I hate to even say that because it's so cliche, but you got to have.
No, it is important.
You got to have somewhat of a personality. You can't
think you're a bot.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Especially in today's day and age, you have to have a personality enough to captivate somebody and engage somebody quickly. Because if you think about it, people are applying, they're applying to multiple jobs. They're not just applying to one. It's usually 5, 10, 15, 20, hundreds if they're using an AI bot to apply to their jobs. So when you talk to them, you've got to get them on the hook quickly. They've got options. Let's make sure that we are able to give that elevator pitch, sell the company, tell them what we are, who we are as an organization, what we can offer, and get them to the door. And if you don't have that captivating energy,
we're storytellers.
Yes.
And us recruiters, we are recruiting as sales.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're in-house or out-house, as I like to call it, as an agency recruiter, but you're telling the story of the company.
Yes.
And you are pitching it, and it has to be compelling. And if you can't tell a good story,
yes,
you're probably not cut out for this business. What keeps you up at night in the world of TAs?
What doesn't keep me up at night? So I'd say probably what probably keeps me up the most right now, I would say, is, I mean, I'm gonna go back to that quality piece, because again, for me, I'm always looking at data. I'm always looking at how much we're spending. I'm looking at where we're spending it. I'm looking at, is what we're doing working? And if it's not working, either how do we make it work, or how do we find new solutions to make this whole thing work? Because at the end of the day, we still need to make hires.
You have to fill the seats. Got to work the best people. What's excited you most about this industry in the last couple of years?
I think just the constant changes overall with technology. I've seen so much. I mean, working on the HR side, doing different implementations, different systems on the from the HR standpoint, and then being able to then come back and look at different ATSs and go, okay, how can all of this connect and make everyone's job easier? Not just the TA team. How can it make everyone's job easier? Being able to really, I think I'm answering your question here, but being able to really look at the ATS, look at the solutions that are there, that to me is exciting because it's constantly changing. There's new updates every day. There's new changes every day. There's new technology coming out. Feels like every day. So just trying to figure out, how does that connect? For me, that's exciting because we're solving problems. We're solving other problems outside of just see the role, fill the role. So
that is some sage advice. So let's go to the hot take machine over here as we wrap things up. Let's get some cool hot takes here. The open to work banner on LinkedIn, helpful or harmful?
Helpful.
Yeah.
What's harder, sourcing or closing a candidate?
Closing a candidate.
What is one interview question that you secretly hate asking?
There's a lot. I would say what motivates you, and I'm going to frame that one real quick. That's one of my favorite questions, but it's also one of my most hated questions because
you're going to say you don't want to say the right answer.
Exactly. Someone's going to say it. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, but
all right, how do you kind of assess through that? And last but not least, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
You heard it here. I think we're now tied or 2-1. I'm going to keep you straight here. Brandon, where can folks connect? Where could they find you? Where could they learn more?
You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me Champions Group, B Davis at championsgh.com. If you have any questions, happy to chat.
Brandon Davis, head of TA at Champions Group. Thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast.
Right, sir.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, everybody. We're back with Greg Russell, the VP over at CoverGenius, and welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks, Adam. Good to be here, man.
Pleasure to connect, and we know how to use a microphone around here.
Yeah.
I bet it's not your first rodeo. You were just on a panel earlier talking about AI, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But first and foremost, tell everyone who you are and what you do best.
So I'm Greg Russell. I'm VP of Talent Acquisition at CoverGenius. I've been helping startups hire for over 25 years, mostly around Silicon Valley, short stint in New Zealand. I love geeking out on talent acquisition, all things hiring. I love coaching recruiters, teaching them how to be better recruiters, teaching them how to manage candidates, and most importantly, hiring managers. Super passionate about storytelling and mindset. Recruiting is storytelling. Storytelling is culture building.
Yes.
And mindset is everything.
Oh my God, we have so much to unpack there. We're going to move away from just talking about AI because we've been doing that a lot here. And something that I really liked in your notes to me was mindfulness. And I think that covers a lot of areas because what we do as recruiters, it's at times monotonous, at times very time stressful, but we're also in the people business, and we have to have empathy, and we have to not let our daily stresses get in the way of the fact that we're touching humans at a critical point in their life.
Hopefully not really touching them. We could get in trouble for that.
But after your spouse or your partner, your job is really one of the most important critical decisions. So how do you work with recruiters and coach them through burnout and stress, and not to lose the reason why we do what we do in the burnout?
Yeah, and I'll just one quick comment before I go there is you're right. I mean, this is a massive decision, right? Like we're deciding who to hire, that somebody's going to come in and impact the company for hopefully 2 to 5 years. That person is making this huge decision. They're going to come spend a third of their life with us, right? So it's just this massive, massive decision, and we need to get good signal. In terms of the recruiters and the burnout, I mean, this is a job where you get told no a lot more often than you get told yes, right?
All day long. You're being told no, and you're telling people no.
That's right.
And telling someone no is a tough thing to do, and it builds on you.
That's right. It takes a toll. And you know what? A lot of recruiters they shy away from that. It's a hard conversation. And this is something that I teach all my recruiters because it separates us, whatever company I'm at, it separates us from 95% of the companies out there, because so many companies today don't do this. It's so easy just to reject people, to let people know, give them a little bit of feedback. Like 95% of companies don't do it. They ghost people. So I always say everyone gets rejected, right? Of course, not everybody does. A few people get hired, hopefully, but everybody gets feedback from us. Everybody gets follow-up. It's a rule. We've got like a whole, if that, then this, right?
That's done at scale?
Yeah, absolutely.
How?
I mean,
let's just up the hood a little bit.
It's so
How do you
simple.
guys reject at scale? And no, let's just back to train up for a little bit.
Yeah.
There's different. So first and foremost, personally, if someone applies to a company and the volume is so high and for some reason a company doesn't reply back, I don't consider that ghosting. I personally consider ghosting if you have an interaction with a human, either over voice, email, video, but in the same breath, It's not that hard if someone's not qualified to hit a send button. Let them know.
It's not that hard.
It's not that
hard. And I like with the type of ghosting that you described. Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of that's what people think about, and that's unacceptable, right? Like if you've talked to the company, if you talk to us and we don't get back to you, like you've had a meeting with us, that like unacceptable. My head explodes.
Think about that in a personal sense. If you had a relationship with somebody and they don't get
it's unacceptable. But even at the hey, I applied and 1,000 other people applied. It's simply not that hard to get you an email back, right? Even if you know this was, automated, even if you know this was a template. So what? At least you're getting
the loop.
So the number one comment I get from candidates is thank you. So it's like basically a variation of thank you for rejecting me.
Thank you for letting me know.
Thank you for letting me know.
That's what I get.
Exactly. And it's so incredibly simple. Every applicant tracking system out there today can automate this for you, can create templates. It can be like a couple of clicks, right? And if your applicant tracking system can't do that, then you need a new applicant tracking system.
You definitely
in this day and age.
I want to go back to mindfulness we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Recruiting is tough, and especially when you have to give somebody bad news, like they put their heart and soul into the process. They're almost betting the farm on it. And guess what? Here's the deal for any candidates out there, and you know this. In most cases, we can only choose one person.
That's right.
And when we say it's like people think it's cliche, but when us recruiters say it was a tough decision, Greg, but unfortunately we went another direction. Guess what? It usually is a tough decision if you're in the final steps there.
That's right.
So how do you work with the recruiters to keep everybody's spirits high?
So we do get this feedback sometimes. So I tell the recruiters, look, when you're rejecting people, we've got to offer the opportunity to get detailed feedback.
Yeah, let's get into feedback.
Like we don't need to lay it all out there on them every time, because some people just simply don't want it, and that's on them, right? And so, but we offer it. So if we're on a call, we say, hey, I can give you more detailed feedback, and a lot of people say, no, that's okay, I'm good. Some people go, yeah. If you're sending an email, we always have a tagline in there, like if you'd like more feedback, let me know. I'll jump on a call with you, right? So we offer this, and if it's an internal candidate who has applied, maybe we're running an internal process, those internal candidates must get detailed feedback so they know how to get the next job, right? And sometimes candidates push back and they go, oh, well.
I didn't say this. I didn't mean that.
But
I didn't get a chance.
I do have that. Why don't you think I have that? Right. And that's fine, right? And recruiters get worried, oh, I don't want to get into this loop with them. And it's really simple. We just say, look, candidate, I totally understand that. What you have to understand is hiring's an imperfect art. All we get is the signal that we get. We spend a few hours with you at the most, and we have to make a decision based on the signal we get. Based on the signal we got, we made the decision that somebody else has more of X or more of Y. We thought you were a great candidate, and that's it. So we just kind of gently shut down that conversation.
Because that's always the pushback on why companies don't give feedback, either from a liability perspective, but more because of this endless loop where if you're a candidate and you don't agree with the feedback, of course you're going to push back on it. And now you're putting the recruiter in the spot of having to defend something that they may not be able to. Maybe they weren't privy to the conversation. Maybe they weren't the details. But the hiring manager made that decision.
That's right.
And that's all that matters.
That's right. And you just gently, politely explain, right? Like, this is it. And then you move on. So there's ways to introduce closure, right? So that you don't go back and forth 18 times. So, right.
You mentioned the word signal. How do you define signal? Because signal these days is like one of my other buzzwords du jour. And then I kind of double back on it because I've been telling everybody, like in the last couple of years, I've been really fine-tuning my ability to hear and see the signals through the noise. How do you define signals? And in our space, TA, how do you define signals?
So for me, hiring's all about signal, right? The hiring manager, so I think about hiring as a project. The hiring manager is the project owner. They own that decision, right? They're going to have to live with that hire, good or bad. The recruiter is your project manager. They're going to bring you through the process, right? And what we need is we need to get good signal from the candidate to the hiring manager so the hiring manager can make a confident decision, right? At the same time, this is also a massive decision, right? It's a massive life decision. Somebody's deciding to come spend 2 to 5 years with us, a third of their life. Candidate needs signal, right? And so we need to do everything we can to cut through the noise. And so it's all about optimizing process to make sure you get good signal. So that's doing really robust calibration up front. It's getting really robust feedback. A lot of AI. I know we're not talking about AI, but a lot of tools today.
We get to a little bit. What's
note takers?
What's in your tech stack right now?
Well, we just recently moved over to an ATS called Kula. It's built on AI. It's an all-in-one ATS. And I'll tell you the main reason we went with them is they've built the note taker functionality into the ATS. So we used BrightHire in the past, phenomenal tool, biggest game changing tool I've ever used in TA. And then I was looking to switch ATSs this time around, came across Kula, realized they'd basically built that functionality into the ATS. So now all those notes, the transcript, the video lives right in the candidate profile.
It's such a game changer because now you could take any of these tools. You don't have to take my word for it as a recruiter. You can literally take the candidate's word for it, word for word.
That's right.
And
That's right.
you also streamline the interview process. So now me as a recruiter going down the line or the hiring manager, now I don't have to ask the same question because they sit right and I can use that time with the candidate to hone in, dial in.
And you don't have to worry about trying to take amazing notes. You can let the note taker take it. You can engage, right? And it's so much richer signal to go and rewatch or read a transcript than to go and check in with, Joe, and his feedback was like, oh yeah, I like that candidate.
I like that guy. So when you go back to Signal too, I'm curious on this one. Do you guys work in a consensus model? Because if one hiring, listen, ultimately it's going to come down to a decision, but Signal could get lost in bias.
Yep.
How do you ensure consistent Signal feedback?
So this is not a democracy. The hiring manager, it's their decision. They own the project, right? And so if they want to hear your feedback and you're saying, I don't think I would hire this candidate because of X, and you go, you know what? That's okay. X we can teach. They've got Y and Z and everybody was super strong on Y and Z. So I'm going to go forward. That's your decision, right? If we go to a feedback meeting and everybody was threes and we think we're going to make a hire and the hiring manager hears something and thinks, you know what, we can do better. Also their decision, right? Not a democracy. Like we want the signal and we want to really interrogate that signal and we want really rich feedback. And that's why we do live debrief meetings rather than just relying on paper.
My fingers are dry, but I'm snapping right now.
Yeah, there you go.
The consensus is key. And the live feedback meeting, and I've seen this, I've been privy to these where he's done there for clickbait. You could debate with someone else on your team, the merits of a candidate, their experience interviewing them. And that's really where you flesh it out and say, hey, is this a positive signal when we're going to bring this person on board?
That's right. That's right. And it's, and so it's the hiring manager then needs to make that decision, right? And as long as we're providing them the signal so that they're confident, great. You want to override that too? Fantastic. Make the hire. You want to keep looking and you got a bunch of threes? That's it. That's you. You do you.
I love it. Talk about tech a little bit. Any tools that you're using from a sourcing perspective, like Juicebox?
We are not yet using Juicebox. I've heard great things. It's just, it's this, I've been doing this 25 years, right? You see these cycles of tech. It's kind of like, I think about blooming and fading, right? And right now we're just in this tremendous bloom era. AI, everything, right? A few years ago it was like, put a bird on it,
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, put AI on it, right? And
Put a bird on it.
And there's amazing tools out there, right?
Like AI everywhere.
AI everywhere. And so we're going to see a lot of consolidation.
Correct.
It's a noisy market. A lot of these companies won't be here in a couple of years. They'll either fade away or they'll get gobbled up by someone else, right? And so we'll go into that fade, that consolidation time, but I think it's super, super exciting. We can be scared of AI. Oh, AI is coming for our jobs, right? Or we can lean in and we can really use it to supercharge what we do.
Yeah.
I know which one I'm going to do, right?
Well, it's interesting too, because a good recruiter will test the tools out. And I know for me, and this is a plug for Juicebox, and not just because we're seeing Juicebox. I went through a recent health situation, and my available work time was limited. So as a recruiter, I needed to find ways to make myself more efficient, and I leaned in on tools like Juicebox with constraints and with guardrails around the sourcing. And what I was able to do is fine tune the system to help with the shortlisting, but I was still doing the outreach.
Right.
So when the system learns, when the system gets better, it allows us recruiters more time for the human side.
That's right.
Now, the whole thing is integration, onboarding, and actually utilizing it in the right way. Because if you're not using it in the right way, then folks are using it as a crutch and not a tool. But have you found folks in your team asking to try more tools or for testing them out?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think one of the wonderful things about the team, CoverGenius in general, and my team there is we're very kind of tech forward, very AI forward. So as a company, we've had a mandate to lean in. And so for me, when I go get an AI recruiting tool, it's just like, there's no discussion. It's just like, oh, great. In fact, we're kind of the poster child. They're like, hey, look at Talent, right? Like Talent's using AI. Let's get on it.
So what are you finding these days? I mean, in for recruiters in general, let me rephrase that, Greg.
No.
When you're hiring a recruiter on your team, what are those skills and traits? What are those qualities and signals you're looking for?
The qualities and the signal. So there's a few things that I look for in a recruiter. So ability to tell a story, recruiting is storytelling. Storytelling is culture building. It's just so important. mindset, having a positive mindset, having a growth mindset, right? Like I've come to learn throughout my career that stuff is only hard if we say it's hard, right? If you come in and go, oh, this is going to be the hardest role ever because the hiring manager and this and that, guess what? It's going to be hard.
It's going to be
if
hard.
You come in and go, hey, this is going to be a fun challenge, finding this thing that only 5 of them exist, then you know what? It'll be cool, right? It'll be fun. So mindset's super, super important. And I think today, you know, recruiters who are willing to lean in and try new technologies, because, you know, it's not always easy to find those recruiters. Recruiters are sometimes, you know, like very kind of stuck in their ways and don't want to try.
We are a stubborn. So Greg,
We are stubborn people.
dude, you've been in this industry for 25 years. If you weren't doing recruiting, what would you love to be doing to put food on the table? What would, like, if switch careers up, you know? Like,
Well, I mean, that's such a good question. I don't know. Like if I could just wave a wand and have any talent, I don't know. It might be like have a Michelin starred restaurant or something. I think that'd be cool.
what kind of cuisine?
I love all kinds of food.
Well, you're in the Bay Area, man. This is
All
great
kinds.
food.
Yes.
Noma's on my list. I got to get up there to Napa. I got to hit up Noma.
Yeah.
And French Laundry.
Yeah.
You got to do those.
There's laundry. Yeah. There's so much good food in the Bay Area. It's ridiculous.
Well, Greg,
Everywhere.
I want to thank you so much for joining us. But before we let you go, it's time for some hot takes, everybody. Let's go to the hot take machine here. What is what's one interview question?
I love how automated this process.
What is one question that you secretly hate asking?
One question I secretly hate asking?
Something that you have to ask every candidate that you hate asking.
You know, I think especially there's a lot of jurisdictions now where you can't ask what people are making, right? And I think that's great. The pay transparency stuff is great. It's just, it becomes this song and dance, right? It's like, hey, candidate, so how much are you expecting? How much do you want to make? And they're like,
targeting?
well, I see that you posted it up to 180, so I want 180. Surprise.
I gotta say something. New York State, you know, we follow the New York compliance laws. I have never met a candidate who has not asked for the top of the maximum salary. And then it puts you as a recruiter in this weird position because we also know, we know market values, we understand the we also know if a candidate, based on their experience, is at the lower end of the spectrum. And then you have to manage that conversation.
We kind of know
It's all
where
about
you're
managing expectations.
That's right.
Recruiters.
That's right.
Like-
And it's not super hard or anything, right? But it's going back to that mindset, you know? But it's just like, it's kind of annoying because you have to like play this whole song and dance, you know?
Greg, let's leave us with some words of wisdom here. What is the single greatest piece of career advice that you have ever received that you pay forward?
Oh, man. You know, I think the biggest thing I ever learned, so I had a business partner really who taught me this. I had a RPO shop for 10 years called the Mitchell Lake Group. And one of my co-founders, Faden Stahl, I'll give him a shout out. You know, he just he really taught me so much about leading people and managing people. And for him, it was just all about like, you treat people like adults, right? You treat people like grown-ups. It's so simple. And every company I've ever been at where we've treated people like grown-ups has been a wonderful place to work. The companies where I've been at where it's like we treat people with suspicion and we don't trust them, not a fun place to work.
I feel you on that one.
Yeah.
That's some sage advice out there. Greg Russell from CoverGenius. Where can folks find you? Where can they connect? Where can they learn more?
Find me on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out.
So that's recruiter kids.
That's where
all the cool kids.
All right. Hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm always up for talking shop, geeking out on TA. If you're in the Bay Area or Australia or Vancouver or any place that we're hiring and you're interested in getting into InsurTech, come check out all our jobs on CoverGenius.com. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Greg Russell, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.